is up, all you action figure collectors out there? I am back with another action figure review. And for today's review, I'm about to be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Direct Page Punchers Martian Manhunter. And here you do get, a window box packaging. It's pretty much all window box, and here you do get some black and white highlights, and on the bottom you do get the name of the character. And I want to say, surprisingly, it is packaged beautifully. Like, it perfectly captures, for collectors who also, like to keep their figures inside of the box. But yeah, but there's not really much more detail on it. But yeah, you do get to see Martian Manhunter. And also here on the back, it just shows us the comic book that he comes with, which is actually, I'm believing, based off of an actual Justice League comic that was released. So y'all guys get a clearer look, which is pretty cool. Now, I do want to say, normally I pass on McFarlane figures because I usually don't collect McFarlane figures. But whenever this Page Punchers Martian Manhunter was announced, I had to make another exception because I had to get him. And yeah. But you guys obviously know I don't like spending too much time on the package, so let's get him out and take a look at what he's all about. Okay, so now here is him outside of the package, along with everything else he comes with. Now, he pretty much does not come with any accessories, which is passable because it's not like we see Martian Manhunter use any weapons. Or maybe not, because I think it kind of would have helped if he came with an alternative hand of him, demonstrating his morphing powers, if he turns his hand into like some kind of axe or something. Okay, but before we get into the figure himself, we're going to take a look at what he comes with. So what he does come with is that he does come with this stand, which is kind of useless because the figure could stand perfectly on its own. And it just has the DC logo, but, nothing too special about it. And he does come, with this card where it shows us Martian Manhunter, which is some really nice artwork of the classic Martian Manhunter. Here on the back, it does give us, some sort of bio, and if you want, you can pause it and read it. And also, he comes with this comic book, which is one of the coolest things about this line, even though I don't really collect from it because, just not the biggest fan of McFarlane figures. But like Ash says, it's a Justice League of America comic. And, it's 77. And here on the back, it's just, the DC logo. All right. So now let's get into the figure itself. Okay, so now for the figure itself, I want to say that I do think that McFarlane has done a pretty decent job on this figure. I mean, I'm not necessarily really big on this super bright green color skin, but once again, this is, supposed to be representing on how he appeared in the early comics, and that was pretty much the look I was going for while I'm, building and rounding out my comic style Justice League for how they're gonna look. And my first Justice League stop motion. Now, first off, I do want to say that Martian Manhunter, he does have a pretty good head sculpt. But one thing I'm not a fan of, and what others have pretty much ignored, in their reviews, are these white eyes. Like, I'm not sure why they gave him white eyes. Like, even if you look at the card and stuff, you know, the card, he has red eyes. And I know that is nitpicky, but yeah. So pretty much what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna like try to paint or at least color these eyes red as they should be. Then that would improve it a whole lot more. But otherwise, yeah, I do really like the look of this Martian Manhunter. Like, this is a really good looking Martian Manhunter. Like, once again, I normally don't collect McFarlane figures, but this is an exception because when I first saw him, I had to get him. I know I said that already. But I really love that they gave him a fabric cape, which is one of the reasons why I avoided the other Martian Manhunter figures released by McFarlane. I mean, I'm not too against plastic capes, but but like, yeah, the fabric cape definitely made this a must get for me. I do really like how they put it on this red cross on him. And I guess Min has said that this is definitely a separate piece from the belt, which I do like how they've done the belt, even though often it's like a circle, then a square, but I do like the red belt. I also do really like how they did, his blue trunks. Like, yeah, but yeah, I also do love how they did these boots. The boots do look good. Like, yeah, and like, looking at the back of the figure, not much detail. But yeah. Overall, I really do think it's a pretty solid job on this figure. Also, I do also point out, for some reason, he does come with this open hand and one close-fisted hand. I mean, which could look good for, stop motions. Like, it probably won't be too noticeable if I'm making him punch with this hand. But this is also a pretty cool hand to have, like, just in case if you have any mini Oreos that are in 1/12 scale that you want to give him, to recreate him for his love for Chocos, even though they're Oreos, but they're called Chocos in the comics. But yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to get him some Oreos, to take pictures, so he could take pictures with it. Like that, to recreate those iconic scenes from the comics. But overall, I do think that this is a pretty solid figure. Alright, so now for articulation, he does have pretty decent articulation, even though, like, I know that McFarlane is definitely not the best when it comes to articulation, but he could look left and right, and he could look down really well, but he cannot really look up, which will be disappointing for flight poses. I don't know, I'm probably going to pop the head off and do some dremeling work, and so he could look up a lot better for flight poses. And the arms could come out pretty good. He does have a bicep swivel. He does have a butterfly joint. They do have some good movements, and double jointed elbows, so he could bend at the elbows pretty good, surprisingly. One flaw about McFarlane is that they also tend to often have stiff joints, but like, yeah, which this part is also super stiff. But he could rotate here. He does have a waist swivel, but not really no ab crunch. He does kind of have this upper, movement, but I'm not sure if it's just that it's super stiff or if it's just hindered by this X. All right. But he could kick forward at the leg, pretty decent, and he could kind of kick back. I don't know, kind of with this diaper thing getting in the way, but he kind of does have a thigh cut, and double jointed knee, so he could bend at the knee pretty good, but no boot cut. And also, he's got hinges on the feet, so pretty decent movement. And he does have ankle pivot, and he does have good toe articulation. And he has 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so size comparison times. Now, here is him standing next to the Mafex Hush Superman and Batman figures, and I would say that the scaling is actually perfect. Now here's the thing, I normally often don't really, one of the reasons why I often don't collect McFarlane figures, it's because they're a 7-inch line, but definitely I make exception. One of the reasons why this Martian Manhunter was an exception, because y'all guys could see he towers over these two. And the reason why it's an exception, because that is often how Martian Manhunter is drawn in the comics. Like, he is drawn as this really tall dude. So, yeah. I really love how he scales with them. And also, here is him standing next to the rest of my comic book style Justice League, and so far he actually looks really great with them. Now I'm just waiting on the Mafex comic book Wonder Woman figure to come out. Then I would have the complete comic book style look I'm going for, on what I'm trying to have for my first Justice League stop motion. And yeah, surprisingly they all look great together. And also, here is him standing next to another Martian Manhunter figure I have in my collection, the DC Collectibles CW Martian Manhunter, which this look is going to pretty much evolve into this look. And you could see that they're about the same height, which is another reason why I'm glad I got this figure, because I heard that he is actually too short for his own line. But yeah, I really love the size of this Martian Manhunter. Here is him standing next to 2 Mattel DC figures, the DC Multiverse Mattel movie Shazam figure, and the CW Black Lightning figure. And also, just for fun, here is him standing next to 2 Lantern figures, the DCUC DC Signature Collection, Saint Walker on the left and Larfleeze, on the right, to have the little alien club. And also, if you wonder how he looks with your Marvel Legends, here is him standing next to the Core 4 Avengers. Now here is him standing next to the Storm Collectibles Darkseid figure.